Can you guys see the slide?
Yes.
All right, so we have the past two sessions, we have been talking about various techniques and industries. So when we see this one is about strategic planning tools, which is pretty much also to understand SWOT analysis, PESTLE, and understanding of various industries internally and externally. When we see this section, we need to understand the strategy and the vision and the planning and action for every industry, or basically the company that we work into. Do you guys have the PowerPoint that you can actually refer to later as well? Okay. Now, when you see any organization or when you're working in any organization, it's important that we must embrace and we must understand the values, the vision of it. So some of the essential strategic plans, they use tools like visioning, charts, they strategize SWOT analysis, they have interrelationship, basically diagrams to understand that. Why is visioning so important? When you have a vision, you basically try to understand the key foundation that guides the plan of the organization, and then you have goals. So usually departments or the entire organization is already part of the critical planning in helping the leadership design something that is realistic. And then you have goals, you have short-term and long-term goals. Sometimes when you have goals, when you create them, you need to see how are you going to be achieving it. And on the other hand, you can create charts. Some companies, they like to have Gantt charts. Do you guys know what a Gantt chart is?
Yep.
Okay, do you ever use it?
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Okay, very good. So basically, so you have a Gantt chart too. It's like also used for project management to understand or assess and creating an impact to see that, okay, when are you going to be completing it? Either it's day-to-day responsibilities or monthly, weekly, okay? You will notice that SWOT analysis is basically everywhere, and it's just important to understand how based on certain situations, we're going to see or we're going to discuss about situations that can either be internal or external. And today you guys went to work. How was your day? Was there any challenge or anything that you feel that needed guidance, needed some kind of your attention? And how did you solve that? Anyone? Okay, seems like everybody had an amazing day and no problems. Okay, so the world of strategic planning is advancing, and it's fairly important nowadays for organizations to see this, to keep themselves updated. Otherwise, they can face certain failures. Now we see Amazon strategic planning, right? So in Amazon, what does Amazon do? What are their strategies? How does Amazon cope with their strategies? Does anyone have any input? Hmm?
Well, what I know is for the Amazon vision, so they are customer first. They
Mhm.
they're focusing on the customer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So any idea like how they're actually doing when it comes to supply chain or their value chain?
Uh, no idea. Actually, I've seen a lot of like for the supply chain and everything are
Right.
automated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
Um,
fine.
Personally use that the cloud services for the Amazon.
Okay. Do you guys know about KPIs?
Yep,
Do you use KPIs in the office?
yep, definitely.
Okay. So, what is in a KPI? KPI is like key performance indicators, right?
Yep.
And it's quite important aspect of strategic planning. So, when an employee or a staff works in the organization, organizations will assess their KPIs to measure the progress of the organization towards planned goals. Usually, if the strategic plan implementation goes well, then maybe the assessment is positive, but it can always fluctuate. And usually, staffs are always very worried about their KPIs, and the organization management must basically time to time see the progress and see the action. Otherwise, they're likely to fail, right? And you have performance measures, performance indicators. So in your experience, when you have the KPIs, how do they assess things? Hmm?
For me, like we define the KPI based on the organization goal first, like yearly, and then uh, like we define it quarterly, and then
Mm-hmm.
how do we want to set the uh, uh, performance goals, like personally or in a team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to
Okay.
achieve that to achieve that organization goal. So the main indicator is actually the organization goal, and then we uh, how our team, individual can contribute towards that goal.
Mm-mm-mm. Okay, so then sometimes it can be yearly. KPIs for 5 years could be like a long-term thing to see. And some has it always been that some goals are not being able to achieve because of some situation that had changed?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay, so we have various KPIs, we have various ways. So it depends on the objective of what needs to be done, right? So if the objective is quality of the programs, then of course you need to see what's happening. So quality, let's say, of health, like of a hospital. So they have to see the results. They have to see how many people, how many patients, or how many staffs are actually performing well, doing their jobs. And if you see for banks and all that, so number of complaints from customers and providing the right service for their clients as well. Improving facilities for a national standard, for example. So it depends if you're having a certification of a kind, then the quality management performance need to be seen how things are going to be done. As well as, let's say, one of the objectives is on sponsorship. So when you have sports management or let's say entertainment, then things need to be seen in that way. For banks, for example, how are banks different? How do we understand the key performance of KPIs for the banking industry? So, what are the general stuff, the general aspects that banks should always track or they are tracking?
For
So if I
one,
may to add, sorry,
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
I mean, for banks, we base all of our KPIs against the services that we offer our customers.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the KPIs, is all how do I say? Um, it is always towards the goal of making sure that uh, to sound too crude is to keep the money within the bank
Mm-hmm.
and then make it grow. And then that's the underlying KPI for
Mm.
every small KPIs that we have in place. Um,
Okay.
there's a different KPI for the customer facing segment of our team. There's
Mm-hmm.
different KPI for the back end support of our team. So
Okay.
it depends on what your service function is, and that's how we define KPIs in the
O-
office.
Okay, so financially, you can see the revenue, you can understand, you can see the incoming cash flow, right? And then
Yeah,
see the revenue, how much is deposited by either interest, service fees, and transaction. So
yeah,
what about and okay, so you have for the customers it's different. And expenses, do you also monitor the expenses that are usually tracked in
yes.
different categories like interest, non-interest, things like that?
Actually, we pay more attention to the interest, to the cost and expenses rather than
Okay,
the
okay.
incoming.
Okay. And then how do you adjust the expenses, like when you have to cut the budget to see, because you're also monitoring the operating the profit. So you have to understand the business operations and maybe see which part needs to be deducted, right?
Yeah, I think this goes for any other company. We do have
Mm,
an annual planning and we do have an annual assessment of
right.
of the annual plan. So whether it has
Mm-hmm.
performed according to its objectives, and then we'll see whether because for each of the points in the annual plan, there's a cost estimate attached to it. So we
Mm-hmm.
will check there whether they have exceeded their budget or uh, they have saved some from.
Right.
So and that's where we play the ball. We don't necessarily increase the organizational budget, but we do transfer, yeah, realign every year.
Okay, okay. That's very interesting. That's good. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? I think someone wanted to talk as well, right?
Yeah, sorry, it was me. So
No,
what
no,
I
it's
was,
show. Yeah.
I think I covered most of it. So if I may to add something, I think the impacts with Corona came in because I come
Yes.
from, I've been a traditional banker like 15, 13 years back, but
Okay.
sort of I have changed my job, the role eventually. Now I'm at Go Banking IT, where I'm a product owner for the bank's mainframe. So the
Okay.
main impact that I have faced personally is how I related to KPI is when we started this year, we started
Mm-hmm.
with a big bang saying that we ought to go out, expand footfall and
Yes.
offer a lot of different products to customers. But in July or rather June, the bank took a big step back and said, okay, we are not going to launch anything
Mm.
because it's very unlikely even if we launch a product we could go out and sell it to a customer. So it,
Right.
it had a big impact, and as a result our KPIs also changed from more of a growth strategy to more of a much controlled and cost
Mm-hmm.
effective strategy. So for me personally, KPI is very what I foresee in future. It's not going to be even 1 year. So it'll probably be like 3 4 months maximum, and they
Yes.
will start reviewing
Yes.
it.
Yes. Yes. I think 1 year is a bit too long for today's generation with the way things are so unpredictable. So I think when they have to track these responses and understand, like you're understanding through a scorecard, right? Because you're doing KPI. So when it's measured in such a way, it's important to see it. I think every at least either 3 times a year or at least twice a year, every 6 months, to understand the average time to close the issues, to see the operation, the technology, and identify the problem, how it can solve. Because no one would even predict that how COVID would have actually create this whole transformation for this year. People thought few months, but now here we are. It's already September. So it has been a huge change for everyone. Okay, so anyone has any other things that they would like to share? If not, I'm just going to carry on. Okay, so the next one is, let's say that you can even have assessment for like short term. So it's not really like you need to wait for 3 months. Sometimes you can even wait for like, you can even start assessing it every 2 or 3 months. Some of the common strategic models that countries like to do, or even let's say companies, they have various frameworks that can help. You can use it through Excel. They have various templates to understand what models and the governance, the corporate governance, to understand how the structures are working and where are the improvements. So when we see the strategic model, basically one has to apply the planning process to see various components with maybe different departments. So if someone is going to use an example of, let's say, building an airport, so what do we need in an airport? How can we see the high level approach of the work, the integration of, let's say, the inner grounds or the roads that connect the departure and, the immigration, the various terminals. So there has to be a strategic model for that as well, to see that everything is consistent and coherent, because otherwise things can fall apart. Um, how about from the television industry? How are things different there? What kind of strategic models are used there? Anyone? Is she here today? Lisa? No, Lisa's not here today. Okay. All right, I'm just going to move on. Anyway, so when we talk about media planning for strategy, it can be, inside the company, it can even be outsourced. So outsource, a lot of organization, they like to outsource service to see the complexity or to see the research, or find someone to research on what's happening and use various tools. Let's say for the buying process, you have agents, you have various media platforms for ad reach or frequency. We did discuss something about this on Monday, and we had to understand the budget planning when it comes to strategic planning is really, really important. So one thing is that there are various softwares that organizations like to use to check either the billing system, the workflow system, and most of this could be automated to the project management and financial aspects, so that they can find out what the clients want. They can share the files, get approval, and manage relationship, whether it's customer or whether it's business to business. So, in your organization, what types of software programs are being used to understand strategic planning? Because theoretically, of course, you have five force quarters, you have Mintzberg, you have various theories that could be used. But in an organization, the technology is going to be different, because the tools that are used for researching and targeting and planning are considered differently. You guys are aware about Nelson Group, how they actually invest in reports, and they do a lot of research and a lot of audience measurement from there that people can use. And even for Google, you can see the number of free tools like Google Trends, and see the brand popularity. What kind of tools do you guys use?
Hi,
What kind of software?
Hassan here. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, in the
Hi,
Maldives,
Hassan.
for me personally, when it comes to checking out Google Trends, it doesn't really apply for the Maldivian sector because there's not enough data. That's what I
Right.
usually get when I try to use Google Trends. So in Dirago, in my company, when it comes to checking out how things are trending, we usually run marketing surveys,
Mm-hmm.
or either over the phone or SMS surveys. But recently, what we have found out that is some of our customers, they don't really like getting SMS surveys from their operator as much as they used to before. So now we're actually looking at a more digitized method of like probably through a special landing page when we
Mm-hmm.
launch promotions and things like that to collect information regarding what our customers want and how they feel about the services.
Right, right. Yeah, you have to do that, right? Because you have to monitor and then make sure that whether they're okay with it or not, right?
Yeah, and also I think another avenue that not just telecoms, but a lot of the other companies actually utilize now is social listening. So basically,
Yes.
what social listening is, they just keep an eye on the general topics that are discussed by that particular audience or segment that they want to keep an eye on to see if they like a
Mm-hmm.
particular product. We do that
Mm-hmm.
quite extensively at Dirag. And I think with the way that the Maldivian culture is said, whenever there is a service outage or a grievance with the internet provider,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of our customers take to Twitter or
Mm-hmm.
take to Facebook to comment about it, to raise it. So we do quite an extensive amount of social listening as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good. Thank you so much for sharing. That's nice to have an idea about that. So, okay, so when you have strategic plan, for example, like the basic structure, there are various structures, but some of the basic, let's say tactics. So, how certain assignments or certain information is being assessed or goals based on individual basis. So, based on your action, based on the, let's say, client satisfaction strategy. How do you focus on the annual? Like you mentioned about annual, and you have annual reports. So the due dates, the deliverables, and what are they assigned, and what is specific execution based on the various products or services given to them. So the strategies would be like understanding the tactics, right? So what are the goals? Provide the focus, and then make sure that individual goals are being met, because it's quite broad. So it has to be action oriented and implemented in such a way so that the clients can get an overall inclination of focus, and then you can have the improvement as well. Sometimes things are just good, so you don't really have to worry so much. But if your objectives are like quantifiable and need measurable targets, then of course you have goals that need to be quantified, and then you have plans that need to be measured properly. Otherwise, the target performance will not meet the objective. So that could create some havoc there. And looking at, let's say, telemedicine. Are you guys aware of telemedicine, or telehealth programs? Like anything to do with that?
Yeah, we did pioneer that here in the Maldives.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a funny story about that as well. When I first joined, if you guys don't mind,
Sure, sure.
this is kind of a local island experience of telemedicine.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, what happened was I joined Dirag 8 years ago. That's in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I joined, it seems that earlier that year, Dirago had pioneered a telemedicine machine which had, all the heart monitors and the blood pressure
Mm-hmm.
monitors and everything connected. It was sort of like a kiosk.
Mm-hmm.
They had procured a kiosk, brought it to the Maldives, met with the health ministry, and undertaken a huge big project where the idea was, because of the way the Maldivian geography is set, our islands are very far apart. So to have
Mm-hmm.
good quality doctors available in the further north or further south was a challenge, and it is still a
Mm-hmm.
challenge. So what Virago did was, with the Ministry of Health, they undertook this huge project where we procured these telemedicine kiosks, and we gave them to the health ministry, and then it still flopped. The main reason why it flopped was not because of the technology or not because of the connectivity, rather it's because of the manpower that is required
Mm-hmm.
to man that kiosk, and the health ministry didn't have budget, or the, they didn't really have any processes set to actually
Mm-hmm.
ensure that this new mechanism would be functional. So right
Mm-hmm.
now there are some telemedicine kiosks in some islands just collecting dust, and nobody's using it.
Oh, okay. Now that's sad,
Yeah, I
because
know.
there's a proper like telehealth, like kit given to them. Maybe they could actually, it could actually benefit them, but then it's not.
Yeah.
Okay. So then how do you think things like that can actually improve?
I think right now, I hate to say this, but this is something that we say quite a lot in Dirag right now, especially in strategy meetings. One of the best things when it comes to digitization of the world was a pandemic. So
Mm,
with the COVID-19, everybody has started to actually forego all of the brick and mortar style
mm,
businesses
mm,
and come online and explore more digital means to actually do business. So what we have realized is that with the need of touchless social distancing and all that, people have actually started to adopt more digital friendly technologies. And I think one of the things that was recently launched in the Maldives was the ability for customers to actually consult doctors in Sri Lanka through a
Mm-hmm.
mobile app or mobile service. Uh, Other than that, I mean, we're also working on a way which would help the health sector to increase social distancing and increase
Mm-hmm.
like touchless avenues for them to do business. So what we've seen with the business operators here in the Maldives is they have actually started actively looking for alternative new age ways to do business. So that's one positive that's actually come out of a pandemic upon the many negatives. I'm not trying to sugarcoat a pandemic where a lot of people have lost lives, but some good has actually come out of it, and I think that is something that especially people in marketing like myself as well as in sales and other departments need to keep an eye on and see how you can actually utilize this change in people's mentality for
Mm-hmm.
your business and to gain a business advantage for yourself.
Right, right. Yeah, I guess a lot has changed when it comes to this because the clinical applications and the way and the benefits, the functionality and the way to, I mean, communicate. Like you said, patients can ask questions from other doctors from different countries. So that way, this can actually, the way it's being implemented, it's only bringing benefit for everybody. So at least when it comes to communication, when it comes to technology, they're ensuring that at least there are efforts being put so that patients or potential patients or even people who are interested, they can understand this holistic picture of programs and opportunities, right? So that at least the basic information, the data analytics are already generating through online, so they can understand. So this is what is happening, I think, a lot around the world in various languages as well, that the telehealth programs are implementing various activities that are actually improving, and people are just relying more on themselves. They're trying to understand what they should do, how they should understand the metrics, so it can show some value. Because if you look at the health industry, because this whole pandemic actually has changed the understanding of the health industry, as at the same time, a lot of adjustments everyone is doing. People who are sick, not sick, people who are scared of becoming sick. There are a lot of innovative programs and various tracking quality improvement, also quality assurance efforts from various units, so that it's only going to get better either for people at work and people can work from home. So the entire concept has actually changed for everybody. But now moving on to, let's say, executing a strategic plan. If you guys were to do assignment and stuff. So you know that when you have strategic implementation, you are going to understand internal and external environment, such as the markets, the sub-markets, also the perception of consumers, the competitiveness. Consumers will be different based on the organization you are, and even the internal environment is also going to be different. However, when it comes to budget, when it comes to requirement of time and availability of skills, that will be different, because at this point of time, strategies have changed based on the gap. A lot of people have lost their jobs, so the gap between that, to create a fair estimation of an organization where they can achieve those goals, or even requirement or resources, whether it's both hard or soft executing plans, they need to see how they're going to execute this if they have insufficiency of alternatives, because they are finding substitutes. So here, at this point of time in 2020, strategic planning is not just the same way of planning, but substitution, alternatives, saving, trying to understand the feedback and mechanism of how one can be flexible. At the same time, the gap that has created separation, and how you're going to retain them. So in your case, what have been the substitutes, or what have been the alternative strategies that are being used so to save the resources? Anyone? That's actually a hard question to think about. But you guys are working, so at least you'll have an idea of what kind of successful approaches or alternative strategies have been taken? Anyone?
Can you repeat the question?
Okay.
Sorry,
No, the question is, okay, to come down, to make it very simple, in 2020, a lot has changed, right? So, the way the strategies have been used, right, or applied or implemented. Now, the question here is, what have been the alternative strategies or or substitutes to make sure that the gaps have been filled, whether it's both hard or soft skills? Because there has also been a change of management system, change of staffing, change of skills. So how has that actually improved? What has been a different way of positioning, or just making rational assessment about stuff? So any changes, any kind of alternative frameworks that have been used?
Well, we are actually getting rid of 35,000 staff globally. That's like one of the first changes we came
That's
across due
like
to COVID.
that's like a heart attack for everyone, right? So now thinking about that, okay, 35,000, that's like huge. Now you're lucky that you're one of them that was not let gone. So the thing is that when you have that and you're part of this whole stakeholder system, those 35,000 that had to go, what did the company do? What was the strategy? Like, were they compensated in any way?
Yeah, well, they were treated well, and I mean, they were treated with respect and fairness, if I may to say. But
Okay,
it's not that only, because losing a job at this point of time is a big deal.
right, right. So let's say when you said they were treated fairly and everything was fine, so when you roughly or approximately how much does the person get?
I
Like
don't know if,
for
uh,
compensation?
well, yeah.
No, if
So,
that is if you know.
no. So what happens is basically depends on your number of years in the group. It's your
Hmm,
experience.
right,
So let's say, for an example, if you're a person who is relatively new to the company, they will
right.
be getting very less. But in the other hand, if you're a very experienced person, you'll
Mm-hmm.
get a considerable amount of compensation.
Okay. Okay, so that's the way it's being assessed. Okay. Like, see, do you guys eat McDonald's?
sometimes yes.
Right? So, like, let's say in the previous, in one of the slides of McDonald's, let's say, yeah, this one. How does McDonald's strategize their way that people actually like to eat? I mean, they have a formulation of growth strategy for sure that actually enables them to send these signals to the market, and people really want to try their product. And also, they know that the change is very much there because there is changing consumer preference. So when it comes to that, there's a various patterns of the way McDonald's is based on standardization or either expansion, or when it comes to their food, you will have the same kind of burgers and food menu in various countries, but you'll also have some localization that actually makes it easier for them to integrate the 5 Ps of strategy reflected in whatever strategic plan they have. So, is there any local, like, let's say when it comes to McDonald's, what is their local strategy? Like, what kind of local food is there that they have?
Yeah, in Indonesia they are using rice, right? But in Malaysia they don't serve rice. I think they serve fries. And in China they use the China spices for their
Mm-mm-mm.
yeah. Sure about that.
Interesting.
But I think it should be the same. Some will be some menu will be have the Thai
Yeah,
spices.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They have the Thai spicy, the Thai spice. They will have the basil stir fried. They have porridge. Porridge is very popular here,
Yeah,
so they
yeah.
started the porridge system. So people love to go to McDonald's for their breakfast. So I think this movement and this change happened only after understanding that there is this huge gap that they need to fill because a lot of people were just going other places to have breakfast. But if If McDonald's can provide breakfast, that means they can just have their consumers come there to have breakfast or buy lunch or dinner. So that's one of them.
Yeah, true. Do they
Oh,
serve fries as well there?
huh?
Do they serve fries as well in
Oh
Thailand?
yes, yes.
Oh,
They have various fries. They have rice as well. They have hash brown. They have fried chicken. They have chicken that is very similar to. I think they're inspired by KFC.
mm-hmm.
And even KFC changed, right? Even KFC has their own menu, but of course they focus more on the fried chicken, but they also have the rice part. Okay, so those are some examples in terms of brands. But if you look at on daily basis, when strategies are being created, most of it is being done by Excel sheets. And of course, you have SWOT analysis. You have a template for SWOT analysis. You have a template for Pesto, and organization they use it so that easier for them to understand that. You guys have used Google Sheets.
Yeah, but the company standard is on Microsoft
Oh,
Office.
okay. Okay, that's fine. So there you have all of that, but otherwise there are many softwares and tools that can be used. How about the entertainment business? How has strategies changed for the entertainment business? Anyone has any idea? Like how their vision, mission has changed because they had plans. They had so much of plans to launch, movies and all kinds of stuff, but then everything kind of shifted to Netflix, or they are having a launch of certain series or certain movies, but they just want to use television rather than actually because the entire going to cinema concept has changed.
Actually, well, for the Philippines, while
Mm-hmm.
there are still movie houses in the metro, and then
Mm-hmm.
some people are still going to the movie houses, but not recently, just recently, but like last year. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there have most of the media companies have shifted their focus to social media channels and the internet as a whole. So
Mm-hmm.
they have created their own digital channels already.
Mm-hmm.
And these are some of them are pay per view, some of them are free.
Mm-hmm.
But they ever since the boom of Netflix, these media
Mm-hmm.
companies have been planning and have accelerated their move towards the internet, and it has only been hastened by the current pandemic we're in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that has recently like changed and created a lot of questions to consider, about like why these things are happening, whether it's peer to peer, whether the chat service, and how things are going to, is it going to be like this in the next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? And now because the planning teams are, everyone is also still working from home, they have a lot of shoots. So even though we say that entertainment business doesn't really affect us, human beings need something to watch as entertainment, whether it's short videos, long videos, it's whether fiction based, non-fiction based. We have the youth, right? The youth are the ones who are actually being proactive, and increasingly they are one of the main market, fierce market for this. So they have to do that. At the same time, to understand growth and to create profit or to even create that flow, they have to make sure that the machines
It seems you're disconnected.
huh?
Hello?
Yeah, we lost you. Hello.
Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
we lost you for a few seconds. No, cannot hear you.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, now it's okay.
That was just strange. I was just looking at PowerPoint and suddenly the voice is gone. Technology. Okay, I'm just gonna. I was saying about the entertainment industry. So how they have actually shifted, and because we were discussing about Netflix, we can see that a lot of new programs and a lot of things, and we have this huge market of the youth that they are actually one of the core customers that are actually that are influencing these strategy goals because what are people going to do? And as much as we say we may not be affected by entertainment, but entertainment actually plays a very huge role. So if you think about it, how does how is this actually affecting like organizations, CSR strategies? Is it matching the availability of their current resources? Like, are they being able to deliver what they are supposed to deliver even during the COVID time? Did you guys hear the question?
Yeah,
Hmm?
I heard it. Um, I think one of the things in particular for a telecommunications company, what we experienced was that the customers' requirement shifted quite a lot. In the
Mm-hmm.
sense as customers who were okay paying for let's say the premium broadband services wanted to downgrade, and customers who were actually uh, using the normal ones needed more data and more bandwidth. So
Mm-hmm.
we had to quickly shift our both product strategy as well as CSR strategy as well. Um, when it comes to the product strategy for Dirago, one of the major things that we needed to shift was we needed to shift our pricing strategy. We quickly pivoted from what we had to a new revamped product where we provided double the, actually three times more speed, as well as I think double the data allowances that we had compared to pre-COVID times. So we revamped all our fixed broadband because everybody was stuck at home and they needed more data. So that was one strategy that we needed to change. And the next thing, what we had to do was when it comes to the CSR strategy, the Diragu CSR strategy is already preset into four, I think three or four particular pillars. So one of them was the environment, the other one was protecting children, and the third one was youth empowerment. With the COVID-19 thing, what we had to do was when it comes to the medical sector, our medical sector required PPEs, required funds, required communication assistance to get the message out to the public. So we had to change our strategy from what we had already planned for those three pillars to the new requirements. So that was a big shift, I think, in the CSR strategy as well.
Hello? Okay.
Can you guys hear me now?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes, we can.
I heard everything you said, and I even commented. It's just that when you were talking, suddenly the microphone it just went off, and but I could listen to you, so that was a bit strange. But yeah, okay. Anyways, that was quite informative. Thank you for sharing. Okay, I'm just gonna move on to the PowerPoints and see what else we need to discuss. Okay, you will notice that you're always gonna come across SWOT analysis. It just seems that SWOT analysis is just so popular. Okay. Um, Anyone else would like to share anything about the entertainment industry or anything like that? Like, for example, like how effectively did your organization is tracking profits or revenue or
Okay, we just lost you again.
can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes. Okay.
Can you guys actually hear me?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're back.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I just don't know what's happening because it's everything seems fine. The microphone doesn't seem to say it doesn't work, but yeah. Okay, so I'm not going to really move on to the slide. Can you guys actually see the slide? No,
No slide.
right.
No. No.
But we're always like in the summary, basically. I was just saying that, in every organization, like, or if you look at the slide as well, when it comes to SWOT analysis, it's always there. So that is pretty much how it is. But there was a question I was actually asking, how do you think, or how effectively you think that the organizations are creating and forming profitable use of partnership? Because knowing that at this point of time, the assets are very important to the company, how well do you think they're being utilized? Or how efficient you think the organization, from an operational standpoint, is being defended well, and the reason for behind the success of the current strategy that they're using it, like what is keeping them moving on forward? Anyone would like to share? Earl earl are you there?
Yep. I'm here. I guess for a lot of our partners, we uh, we we tend to keep the same. We tend to work with the same partners over and over again. That's how I
Right.
and that's how we strengthen our relationship with them. So and it doesn't mean that we're not accepting any more newcomers in partnership.
Mm-hmm.
But from a banking IT perspective, we
Mm-hmm.
do often work with the same partners, and we're working with them more these days because um, our organization as a whole has been reduced, has seen its capacity reduced because of the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
and it's our partners who are augmenting us in that space.
Okay. Okay, that's good. So has there been like any like strategically differentiation from competition, like for whatever your organization is planning to change, and because that this means that most of the organizations are implementing differentiation strategy because they need to assess at this point of time how they're going to get some strategic success and some direct thinking to help sure that whatever service or whatever product is being delivered makes sense and they
Mm.
don't lose their customers, you know.
I agree with that one. Actually, for this one, for a lot of our main partners, we use them
Mm-hmm.
as our hands and our hands and feet for the objectives that we're running at the bank. Well, at the
Mm,
from the central office.
okay.
There are occasions where our partners also provide us with additional brain power in the central office.
Right, 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 right.
So especially when we're running the bigger and more critical projects
Mm-hmm.
that are supposed to be that are supposed to finish mid-year, but then Corona happened. So,
Right.
so we're trying to catch up to it, and our partners are helping us accelerate a little bit.
Okay. I'm sure you know, I'm sure all of you and your partners are doing an amazing job because at this point of time, having this strategic vision and having this clear view of a desired future is very much into what everyone wants and needs. But at the same time, that desired goal of the organization at this point of time seems a bit bleak and vague because of the way situations are. So I think everyone is taking it week by week, day by day, and trying to see how they can produce the results. And then if the results are favorable, they know that okay, so there is some implementation, there are some things that are being going on that the organization is could use those as priorities or that as an implementation, right?
Right.
Okay. Looking at the slides, I think we're pretty much done for this module. I was just thinking that I'm going to shift to another module, okay? So
Hindi,
we can.
sasa ko lang, so, ano, vibe ko lang, ano?
Hmm?
Um,
Anyone want to say something?
Sorry, that was me. I had my mic on mute. I was talking to somebody else. My bad.
Okay, okay. So then, what I'm saying is that I'm going to shift this to another module. Could you guys give me 2 minutes because I'm thinking that if I shift it, then the sound might go off. Okay? So just give me 2 minutes. Okay, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I was gonna ask you, usually we have a break. Are you guys okay if there's no break or you want a 5 minutes break before we go on to this one?
I'm okay either way.
Okay, because I think we can just go with the flow. And then it's okay, we're gonna end early anyways, earlier if we don't have break. Okay, so the next one is about, we are talking about strategic planning because we're in such a flow right now. So whatever we're planning, implementation, at the end of the day, we are definitely looking for growth because there's no point of implementing and finding all these tools for the environment or analyzing the organization or coming up with these new things because we need to understand that how at this point of time, whatever acquisition or whatever help we can get from our partners based on the stakeholders can actually help us. So when it comes to finding the efficiency and organized way of seeing the organization's plan, how to improve the strategic objective, it is basically about making sure it's structured, logical, and well communicated. So a strategic plan can actually be successful also because of it's well communicated and whether it's well crafted. Do share about communication. like how important it's the commands of control or the communication between different departments. Like, is everything is going fine? Assessing all the connections. Is everything okay? Like how, when it comes to communication, do you guys have to communicate with different departments, or it's mostly just you managing your work?
We do actually. My role communicates with everybody in the
Mm-hmm.
organization. Well, simply because for the entire organization's IT requirements or technical
Right.
they build it up as mini projects within their sub organizations. All of them
Mm-hmm.
have to go through me as a funnel to IT because IT in my organization is pretty centralized. I sit in the middle of the table between IT and business. So I tend
Mm.
to talk to everybody and make sure that we're getting their requirements clear.
Oh, okay, that's very interesting. S That must be quite a lot of work for you as well.
Yeah, very stressful. Yeah, but it works.
Yeah, yeah, because it's like you're in the middle and then you have to see all these operations and then you have to understand the component. Okay, it's not all, at this point of time, you do you feel that there is a vision, there is a hope for growth, or is just about preparing this realistic vision of making sure that there is a flow and what needs need to be met, but it's not about the growth, it's more about consistency and flow.
There's right now. I have always seen the potential for growth for a lot of the projects that we're
Mm-hmm.
handling and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
our projects that we're delivering. But
Mm-hmm.
right now, it's more about making sure that the company and everybody inside the company, because we haven't laid off anybody, but
Mm-hmm.
we're still making sure that salaries are getting to our employees. But so I'm coming back. The focus of the company is surviving the pandemic without letting go of anybody. That's why
Mm-hmm.
we're double timing on this. But in terms of forward looking, are the projects that we're delivering within October, okay, have a huge potential in earnings even
Mm-hmm.
after COVID,
Mm.
and that's the
Okay.
part that we're making sure that it is future proof.
So do you think they'll be able to make it because it's even after COVID?
I think so because well I'm pretty positive and optimistic about it because a lot of the projects that we're delivering this October are all online projects where we bring the bank to the customer.
Hmm. Okay, that's great. So far, things have been quite fine then, because there are some ways of understanding and then making sure that all the online stuff has been going on well, and then taking the decision actively. So at least organizations are embracing the risks because they
Yeah.
need,
So
right? Yeah.
yeah, and then going back to the importance of communication in your original question, it is
Hmm.
extremely important that we communicate clear, concise, and fast in this
Hmm.
period because we have to move fast and we have to deliver our projects faster than expected, faster than planned.
Definitely. Yeah, because you have to consider the internal, external, and how to execute these strategies, right? Because otherwise, it's just going to be stuck there, and then there won't be flow, and the skills won't be able to be fulfilled, right? And then you can't actually get your result.
Exactly.
Okay. Anyone else would like to share that on communication? I mean, communication plays such a huge role. I mean, It's just that organizations can create all kinds of models and frameworks, but if there is no communication, or if, let's say, the communication is not in the flow, it can definitely harm, hijack everything basically. So the process to involve the employees, or if the employees are involved enough to understand these day-to-day operations, so that they can provide this unique view of the organization, and they're just not there like, okay, I need to be there because I need to be paid, and at this point in time I cannot leave the job, so I'm just going to be there anyway. But in fact, they understand you, they share similar goals, and they share with you what they think isn't working with the business today, and maybe they can help transform, inform, and say, okay, how we can make this work, because basically everyone is working together to save an organization, of course saving their jobs, but at the same time making sure that it is beneficial to reach out to the consumers, or like, let's say, the entire supply chain or the value chain, whether it is the stakeholders, to get their opinions and make sure that everyone actually survives and they come out thriving out of it. Because you need to understand the business landscape has actually changed for the future, so they have to see that how they can still foster in a way to increase productivity, or at least create a consistency of a break even, isn't it?
Totally agree.
Okay, so anything else you guys would like to share about? How effective is the delivery model? We talk about stuff, we talk about communication, but what about delivery? I mean, the company's delivery model and method of offering things to the customer. So we have to also see the CSR. We have to understand the distribution strategy they have, or the organization that you guys are connected with, working, and you guys are the heads of various projects. What is the key aspect of that go-to market strategy, that, or the successful model that helps the organization survive and contribute in the current distribution channel, that and helps utilize and cater to all these products and services? How much is creativity part of this? Is it going through a direction? Is it going through delegation? Or you monitor and there's coordination? What kind of collaboration is happening around here?
For our organization, Bob, um, I think it's a balance of all of those.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, like right now, well, in the past, being a traditional bank mostly,
Mm-hmm.
we do take things in stride because we're not really that fast in the past. But right
Mm-hmm.
now, we're doing things at an accelerated pace. That it's a lot of the older guys in the bank are actually surprised, and
Mm-hmm.
they're feeling a little anxious about it. But our main mantra, especially for the project that I'm handling, is before we give the service to the public, we have to fail fast and learn fast and then improve fast.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the main reason why we're achieving a lot of things in a fast manner, because we're trying things immediately, failing and learning from them,
Mm-hmm.
and modifying our approach the next time. So such that before we even open the services to the public, we're very sure already that it's gonna work.
Yeah, because I'm sure the employees and the heads of the organization, they must be so proud, and they're like, okay, this works, and they're creating even the plan. Of course, they even have a digital strategic plan. So they
Yeah.
need to make sure that how they're going to use the external resources or the internal resources properly, so
Yes.
that, because
But
there's, yeah, tell me.
but they weren't as accepting of that approach in the beginning. It's like I'm being sent to the president's office every week because of that.
Right.
But it's right now they're seeing the fruits of the labor. So I think they're realizing now how what it means to be agile.
Definitely, because they might just feel that, okay, you know what, it's better to just understand what's happening, and instead of getting also agitated, might as well trust that whatever is being taken place, the process is worthwhile, so that whatever action plan that is being created by the organizations, um, they have a strategic orientation. They have to kind of, it's not about experimenting, but it's more about the strategy that can actually define the actions and make sure they include these responsibilities, because the elements here is to fulfill it. So even if it is not working, even if it's slow, what some you have to embrace the risks. So there are various financial models and IT, risk. Of course, there's going to be risk analysis and stress testing. Yeah, you guys have stress testing when it comes
Yes.
to all of this. Like, how is stress testing going?
Uh, well, because it's an online thing, we do simulate uh, a million load at the same time. So
Oh,
that's how much we stress test our services, to make sure that at any given time we're actually able to accommodate at least a million.
okay, okay. That's nice to hear. Anybody else would like to talk about stress test in terms of strategic management? Because working, right? But it's also some kind of that everything is going fine. I've become
We lost you again.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah.
Okay. I have no idea what's going on, but it's just that when I'm just talking maybe for a long time, the computer is like, you need a break. It just stops by itself. Can you guys see the PowerPoint?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, sorry for the inconvenience. We were just discussing about stress management, and Earl mentioned as well that, they have. The question here was that, does anyone else also have something they would like to share? Because when it comes to stress management at this point of time, it's not only about the stress part, but it's also about analyzing risk and the perception, because all of you are very important asset to the organization, that the stress testing can actually help in extensive learning of how to see the downside risk, and to see if there are various alternatives, and how there might be more hours of working in the office, I mean at home as well. So anything else? If not, it's okay. I'm just going to carry on, okay? So let's say if big businesses become much more like larger and more complex, the strategy formulation will also be very different, because things tend to become more complex, sophisticated and unique, that the organization has to see various alternatives that can sustain growth, so that the leadership skills and the resources are not compromised, but you also need to keep the business developing. So at this point, there has been more and more development in terms of IT, but at the same time, when it comes to collecting and analyzing a wider range of information about business, how it operates like internally or externally, and seeing the conditions of the current and potential market. Do you still feel that the situation till December is going to still be the same? Do you think that things are going to be much more different? And maybe the plan, the business plan, or the Gantt charts, or the vision of this of the organization, or something that is actually changing direction. It is involved in overall, maybe the overall goodness of the business, and what could not have been seen as a desired action or a desired goal actually now has a desired direction and a good a positive roadmap, and that complements as an effective strategy for the organization right now. Do you guys see that? Can you guys hear me, everyone?
Oh, yes. I'm thinking
Okay,
about it
it's
actually.
okay. Even if you're not sharing, it's fine. Just say yes, you can hear me. Otherwise, I'll just be like, what? My microphone is on, but who am I talking to? Okay. Anyway, so I'll just continue. Maybe you guys are tired today. So just whenever you want to share today's about the business strategy or the business plan, just let me know.
Now it's broken.
Okay, I know you guys can hear me now, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I have no idea why today the voice is like that, like why it keeps breaking. But I was just saying that today, since today is the last lecture class for this module, please feel free to jump in, share, and ask questions because it's going to help you for your assignments. And looking at like whether you will see there's similar strategies mentioned in the same in various PowerPoints. So if there's any question, please don't feel shy, and we can always continue talking about it. Since you guys have no questions, like, or you don't want to share much if you're tired, I understand. So, I'll just continue with the session, and then later you guys can hear whatever we discussed or whatever I was talking about. And what is important right now, actually, the question that I was thinking about is looking at the way things are right now. Do you think that this is also going to continue till December? Like the strategies that are being planned, and how do you think that the elements that are being involved right now, that is this going to be like a desired navigation or direction for the organizations that are, developing the products or maintaining the products to make sure that this is what they can do and this can become the top level objectives of the organization because they're changing their techniques, but they're also improving their values and strengthening them to see where the business could be. But even having a vision for for this for like the next 5 to 10 years may not be feasible because of the current situation right now. But where there was no desired fulfillment of a goal that could be taken off, now it could be focused on, and the source of competitive advantage over the marketplace can actually seen as a final or seen as a core budding foundation that can actually continue in the future. Do you think that is going to work?
Yeah, I think in my opinion, right, this situation, not even until December, probably until next year's not gonna be uh, a lot of change until
Mm,
probably like the fat sensor are working worldwide, right? And
mm,
yeah, most of the companies already changed the uh, at least this year's target, or probably
Mm-hmm.
coming years, 2 or 3 years target because of the situation. So yeah, I think uh, how do they now they are thinking how do they survive, and then how do they can uh, make advantage over the competition, right? And how how to say how they can take the chance in this situation,
Hmm.
regardless of the industry, right? So
Right.
yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah, that's good because at this point of time, yeah, it will go on till 2021 for sure, and it is important to see how where this is going because now this is becoming like the best practice for engagement in the strategy because to see that what was probably not a scenario could actually become one of the best case scenario, and the ability to have risk assessment to facilitate um, a well crafted or at least um, experimenting on an engagement that enables to create a strategic improvement and is working can actually become beneficial, and it's an opportunity so that the approach can leverage like in different departments because there are a lot of organizations that are not doing only one kind of thing, and they are diversified, so they are subjected to various strategies, and they're hands on that. So they need to see that where they can create the respect and make sure that the worst case scenario maybe create like a win-win situation for them, right?
Yeah, agree.
Okay, so looking at the levels of the direction and seeing how the goals are changing, I feel that everybody is like a survivor. Everybody's trying to understand how they can assess the market and to see what degree can be clearly offered in the market. So to see this way, how does the company actually distinguish the products from the competitors? Because at the same time, you see that when you're different, you're also making sure that you're assessing your competition and you are doing different things. Um, Hassan had mentioned about telecommunication, but even for banking, for any other industry that anybody is in that would like to share that how the customers can switch to competitors offering and what kind of strategy is being used in order for them to come back, you know, so that to see that which areas needed investment or at least needed improvement so that these consumers are not completely gone. Is there anything?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think in my country, in Indonesia, many banks are now focusing on developing the digital banking first, and
Mm-hmm.
secondly, they are offering a lot of investment product. So like in this situation, a lot of like stocks are really cheap. Like even the blue chip stocks are really cheap. So they try
Okay.
to provide the uh, product for the customer, right?
Mm-hmm.
They try to get the customer to invest with them.
Right. So that's working pretty good for them.
I guess so. Like many people right now in Indonesia, especially. I mean, I can speak for my country because
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of people are starting to invest in this situation.
Hmm.
Yeah,
No,
because
that's good.
yeah,
I think
they're
where
thinking
they didn't know much
that
about it, now they're trying
yeah,
to
yeah.
learn the alternative paths to this, right? So this is more like is it more like a contingency plan or a strategic option?
Yeah, and then yeah, before that, right, probably bank only think about like rich people, offering investment to the rich people, right?
Yes,
But
yes.
nowadays, they try to offer more product,
Mm-mm.
uh, affordable product, right?
Mm-hmm.
Affordable investments.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay, that's really good. because see they forgot about them. They could have just been one of the main customers, but because they did not think of them as something of importance, now with this situation, every customer is good, like better than no customer, right? So before the company doesn't think about these alternative paths, now they are, because they need to make sure that their strategy doesn't is not confined to a box, but make sure that the perspective to understand the future context of the industry for technology and globalization, um, the action plan definitely has to improve in terms of geography, geographical regions, so geography, market segments, and to enhance the value chain as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Uh, has there been any, like, I would say, challenge where you feel that, okay, this group of people or the demographics has been a bit very difficult, even though you know that they could be an important, I mean, asset in terms of competencies, but still they need to understand more that even though they are part of the chosen market, explaining them, guiding them, and having them part of the future, strategy. Like how do you actually make them believe or understand that what you are offering as a strategy goal is actually beneficial for them? It's actually a competitive advantage where people never thought about it before.
Yeah, I think still, even though we already identified the target market, that definitely some people are probably not really tech savvy. They don't really know how to use the uh, digital digital way of banking or something.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that could be a challenge to explain, and then uh, probably yeah, they could create like a video in YouTube or a tutorial like that,
Mm-hmm.
for them to learn how to use the product.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting, because at this point of time that a lot of things have to be changed and revised, because the small, even like small businesses, they need to understand that they cannot make a mistake for execution for strategy. They have to make sure that how they can continue doing this, because if they don't, it will just disrupt the flow of what needs to be achieved. And of course, you have the corporate strategy. So companies who have various portfolios of businesses need to consider this, that how the product portfolio or the portfolio that triggers or are part of other subsidiaries, or let's say maybe a merger, an acquisition, or a joint venture, or even sales decision, need to be sustained, because it is going to affect the business portfolio, the partnership, and the acquisition, or maybe even the corporate development of what they need to make sure that it has to go with the flow, right? Has there been any restructure during this time? Because this whole situation of COVID has definitely affected the banking industry and many other industries, but it has also, um, I would say, encouraged or maybe forced them to actually restructure so many things.
Yeah, actually, right.
Mm,
Yeah, my previous company was in insurance company, so there are a lot of restructure, and then business model change of business model.
mm,
Actually, I'm currently in the notice period. I'm gonna join a bank soon. So in my future company, so they're actually expanding because they're trying to create a digital banking. That's it.
Well, for my organization, we haven't really broken down or the organization per se, but we have been introducing new sub organizations so that we can break down the old ways of working and introduce more agility. Where did Bahag Oh, she went away again.
Probably she had some connection issue.
Earl, can you hear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you were
Yes.
talking, and then it just got disconnected. Sorry about that. Okay,
Oh, that's okay.
yeah, please
Yeah.
continue. What were you saying?
Well, to repeat what I said, it's we're not we're not restructuring per se, but we have been introducing the new sub organizations within our bigger bank organization, so that we can break
Mm-hmm.
so that we can break down the old ways of working and introduce more agility.
Right, right. Yeah, that must be quite a challenge for everybody right now, right?
Oh, it is, especially with dealing with the old guys.
Okay, anyone else would like to say anything? Michael, John, Ishara? Be nice to hear different organizations have different things to say. Okay, anyways, because of the restructure and understanding that what is driving the restructuring, we all know that, and the reasons. So it's also important to see that what kind of integration are they having, vertical, horizontal, and since they're moving, let's say, digitally, to see the restrictions at the same time. Do you think that online has restrictions? Do you think the policies, like let's say in media or telecommunication, they have this huge anticipated convergence that is driving the industry for reconstruction of online? Like they're restructuring because they know that this entire sector, whether they can use video, voice, text defining, like even what we're doing right now, is actually change the course of education because we are able to meet worldwide online and to see how the roles can actually change and to create this organized function so that we still can create this flow of communication, right, and learning. Do you think that there's a lot of things that is compelling us, this whole force of driving change in the industry, whether it's manufacturing, retailing, resources, and transportation? And let's not forget pharmaceuticals. What people never bought, they're actually consuming a lot. So, according to you, in your household, what was it that you had to spend so much money on?
Food.
Food? Did you have to like buy extra food?
Yeah, like before, our my family's schedule is like every 2 weeks. That's good for 2 weeks. Right now,
Okay.
we're buying every 2 weeks. That's good for
Mm-hmm.
a month,
Mm-hmm.
just to make sure that but if the country needs to lock down again, we have
Right.
ample supply.
Okay, so at least now it is not on lockdown, right?
Well, we're still in quarantine, but
Okay. Okay.
it's freer now.
Hmm. Yep. So much to change. What about buying Dettol, buying certain stuff at home that you know that you just need it because you need to sanitize everything?
Oh,
Like we
that one.
talk so we talk so much of work, but then when it comes to like home, when it comes to household, even the retail industry, right? The inventory system of what people bought and consuming and what went high, and immediately the development of face masks made of cloth, for example, or let's say sanitizers, or Dettol. So many other alternatives came in the market because these changes were affected globally, and people had to think out of the box because this entire change needed help. So that's also one thing to to see. But then I'm not so sure about other countries right now. Is anybody on lockdown, still on lockdown, or
Well,
just or
Jakarta
just quarantine?
revert back, revert back to the kind of lockdown. It's not really lockdown, but people
Okay.
people don't really follow the rules, but they 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 just going to back to the first lockdown actually. Like before that, we were in a kind of lockdown situation on
Mm-hmm.
April, but they are
Mm-hmm.
trying to free up. But then the case never went down, and then we will go back starting next Monday.
Oh, okay, okay. Now that must be a I wouldn't like challenge or
Yeah, and then
I
it crashes the stock market this today.
So when it crushes the stock market, how does it affect you as a
Yeah.
person? Because you're one of the head of the organization, and then you have
So,
to deal with the stress.
yeah, I have.
And
Yeah,
how do you manage that? How do you manage the fact that okay, this strategy happened and this crash happened, and you have your team with you, and what's the next step? Because this is like complex and this is like unexpected, right?
yeah.
So when it comes to the strategic planning, to understand like okay, this is happening, what kind of vision? What do you tell yourself that can you get out of it? And if this is not working, what could be the best alternative scenario to make sure that okay, if this is not long term for sure, but this is short term, how can this still be maintained? Or some loss is still okay because you have functional strategies, and it doesn't matter. Things are still going with the flow, and it's okay.
I think it's speaking not in the organization manner, but this is personal because it's the whole country stock actually
Hmm.
crashing today. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but uh, let's see how. Actually, we just need to wait and see it because uh, this is not really unexpected. So uh, actually, me myself is expecting this kind of thing to happen because our first wave is still going up, and then still
Right, right.
right. It's not even second wave like in
Mm-hmm.
many other countries. So yeah, but how the market react to the news is just unbelievable, right? Like
It's
that.
like many organizations when the
Yeah.
2020 was going to start, they had so many wishful investment schemes and opportunities. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. But
Yeah.
then when this whole thing happened, it's actually a test, right? It's actually understanding the clarity between the competitive competition, the company's goal, and it has forced everyone to reassess, re-strategize, to create a proactive requirement so that even though there is a downside of the risk, but still the companies can survive.
Mhm.
So people that I mean, I guess things that people didn't think about that could work. That this changed the direction and the course of finding new capabilities and the new capacity. So the strategies required like more capital investment, but differently. They didn't have to go more physical, but maybe more online. They had to, identify new such requirements so that they could actually sustain the company's resources to make sure that the functional strategies are still instrumental. They are still being able to cope with everything. There is still flow. So of course, there's new direction.
Mhm.
Okay, this is good. Anything to do with outsourcing? What about outsourcing and insourcing decisions? Did you have to like make sure that you have to outsource decision making because you had to find new strategies? Anybody with outsourcing or yeah, incorporating like corporate social responsibilities at CSR? So anything to do with CSR? Like even though this thing was going on, this thing is still going on basically. Companies have to apply or adopt specific strategies on sustainability. I mean, do you think that sustainability is suddenly cut off the organization? That's not part of their goals? Or do you think that things are still going on and the company's responsibilities to stakeholders are very important, or they're just not obligated to treat them? but they just need to kind of fairly treat them because they have to do it. So what do you think? It's an obligation, or there's an attention towards this, and they have duties?
For us, there's a big focus on this one too, on organizational welfare, uh,
Mm-mm.
in such that every month each one
Mm.
each one of our employees are tested,
Okay.
and then as I've said a while ago, we haven't laid off anybody. So
Right.
so that in itself is actually a big a big um, reason to stick with the bank, and a big reason
Yeah.
to continue supporting the bank, because it's the employees feel that the bank is supporting them and taking care of them.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a record today, going in and out of the meeting for a number of times today.
Yes, the connection from her parties something.
Yeah,
It's interesting just when you have a good discussion, the mic decides to turn off.
yeah. But
And it just happened with Earl Talk. I'm just like, oh my God, why he might be
uh,
thinking what's going on. It's funny.
it's telling me something. Maybe I should keep quiet for
No,
now.
no, no, no. No, no. Definitely not. To talk.
There we go.
Yep. I heard Earl. There we go again. Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we
Okay. Technology can be very it tests your patience.
Um, Miss Buffer, I can do that presentation from here. You can
Mm.
keep
Actually,
on.
I don't even have to go to the presentation because we're pretty much done with it. I was just
Okay.
like asking and having discussion. Okay, so I'm not really doing anything. I think the next time maybe disconnects, I'm not sharing the PowerPoint if you guys are okay with that. Is that okay?
yeah, fine.
Yeah, because we already in the summary. So just to go back to what was on the slide, you will see Pesto, you will see Ansoff, you will see the porters, you will see SWOT analysis and all that. Okay, so you will notice that you will come across the same kind of structures or models to for your assignments. But from what we were discussing about, what Earl was saying about employee welfare and for them to be getting tested, these are very important because at this point in time, things really need to be properly assessed because one mistake, and if there's poor planning in time, this can actually damage whatever is even going on. And also knowing that his organization has not laid off anybody and they're trying their best to make sure that they're responsible for the management and they're leading the analysis to make sure that key decisions still will move forward. So these things are very important to consider as well. Okay. Also talking about alignment, what do you guys think about alignment? Like, you think that the organization it can understand about this and maximize their existing resources, or they're just trying to um, keep and control the resource system so that they don't have to jeopardize anything? Because at this point of time, leveraging the organization resources is important so that the right amount and the right number of the products for the organization and for the customers are available, right? So assessing the future or pricing and promotion, seeing all the multifaceted questions that rise in every department and as a team to assess how well the organization is working and planning for the future, that no one knows 100% that this might work, but at the same time finding appropriate tactics to analyze the strategy of the organization by envisioning the product at least for 2 3 months, and to even knowing that the roadmap, or let's say the stocks are crashing, but if the stocks are crashing, does that actually damage the entire organization, or at least that, because stocks are investment, but then what about the people who are using the products or services? But if the organization is only dependable on stocks, then of course, uh, a proper detailed plan for forecasted strategies are important, so that there'll be some customer alignment and to re-strategize everything. What do you guys think? Were you guys able to hear me?
Yeah, we are. I'm
I
still
just spoke.
digesting the
I just
information.
went with the flow.
Yeah.
Before it just goes off again. I'm just like, no, it's so funny how it's going.
Well, about the employee, uh, like keeping the current employee, probably if a, a strategy change, right?
Mm-hmm.
An example, for example, a one of the startups in Indonesia, I think, Traveloka, they cut a lot of employees, but
Mm-hmm.
they like switch their focus on other things, and then they are hiring another staff for probably specialists on that area, for example, like in data analysis or something like that. Or probably Gojek, they switch off some of their business, but they are focusing on a new, uh, probably new business, and then they are hiring new employees. So it doesn't really necessary to keep the existing employee because of the strategic change, because some of the existing employee may not have the skill required for the new strategic changes, right?
Okay, I heard that you
Yeah.
guys are saying that can you guys hear me? So I'm just gonna
Yeah.
wrap soon. Okay, I was saying that, Ronald, I heard everything you said and I could listen to everything. So I think today has been interesting discussion, and maybe some of you could be tired, but I mean, I apologize for the inconvenience of the mic. I mean, it just goes off by itself. But I hope you have understood the course discussion about whatever we have talked about strategic planning and how things have actually changed. The alternatives have actually made people in the organization either to merge the gap or either to find a different situation, and to make sure that during this time everything can still be strengthened and go with the flow. Okay. Do you have any questions today? Because we didn't have a break, so I'm just thinking that we could wrap up a bit early. But is there anything that you guys would like to talk about? Do you have any questions?
No questions from me.
Okay, everyone okay? So it was an honor and really nice to chat with you guys, share with you guys, and hopefully to see you soon again. But enjoy your evening and enjoy your assignments. All the best.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Doctor.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you, Earl. Thank you, everyone. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Barbara, for the.
Thank you. Thank you, Miss
Thank
Ta.
you.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
very much. Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
Have a
Hey,
good night.
question.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Good night. Bye.
When are we going to know the assignment? Hello, Ta.
Assignment, it will be uploaded tomorrow.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Good night.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.